Sure.
Hey, Carly, you're on. Thanks for joining. And I see Corey just joined. So, all right, we've got the man of the hour.
The host.
Yes. All right.
Somebody's a little sideways. Ryan?
Oh, now it's dark.
Okay, I apologize, but I'm sucking on a little cough drop. So I don't know if I'm detoxing from a product called Aloe Detox or if I'm fighting a bug or both or what. I feel great, but I got a little runny nose and I don't want to be coughing too much on this. So sorry if I'm sucking on this cough drop.
So you need oregano oil for later.
Right.
A couple oregano oil capsules.
Kathy, if you can hear me, can you give me a thumbs up?
Yep. Can you hear me?
All right, good. So I'm guessing everybody else is pretty much, I can't hear anybody else, but I think that's how it's supposed to be.
I'm here.
I'm here. I'm Mark.
Okay.
Hey, Corey.
Bye.
Corey Brent's here. Corey Brent's here. I can hear you just fine.
Hi,
Okay.
Corey. It's Mike. Mike, I can hear you fine.
If you guys all want to mute, hit the, make sure mute's on so that when I'm talking, it's, it's only me, everybody hears. That'd be great. And then I just got to, I don't know if they changed this on me. I'm looking for, oh, what's this one? Okay, can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
No.
Great. Can you guys see the whole screen?
Yeah, we see your slides to the left-hand side also.
Okay, good. All right, so welcome everybody. Hopefully everybody's here. I'm going to try to record this, so hopefully it'll be available later if you guys want to re-listen to this. Tonight, we're going to cover, I think I switched gears. I'm going to cover the competition. And if we have time at the end, I'm going to go back and review a couple of things that I think are super important. But tonight I'm going to talk about the different ways that we can, or people are remediating EMFs or attempting to remediate EMFs anyway. So as you probably guessed, I believe there's one best way and we're doing it. But there's multiple other ways out there. You're going to run up against competition with various products. I suggest when you get a product, you don't know what it is, Google it. Google Schumann waves or the word Schumann. Google, see if you can search for what their claims are of what they're claiming that they do. And that'll usually tell you which category of these their product probably falls into. Most of our competition is going to be, well, nearly everything is one of these 8 we're going to name. Now, what I'm showing you guys is actually the PowerPoint presentation that I just made a couple of slides updated. So you might want to wait until maybe an hour when we're done this, but I'm going to upload the newest version of this on the Dropbox website. So everybody can have access to this. This is called the PowerPoint presentation 1.5 hour class. This was actually made so that I could do a presentation for literally a 2-hour CE unit course for chiropractors. This is pretty much the one that I did already. Brent's going to be doing this in a week at a place north of LA for a 2-unit CE course for a chiropractor group up there. So anybody who wants to start contacting their local chiropractic groups, in California, this has already been approved. So if you guys are trained well enough to represent us and stuff, you want to contact those groups. I'm all for you guys going up to those groups. And that is an amazing way to grow your business. But anyway, so back on this, we're going to cover the 8 remediation methods out there. And when I give a presentation like I did at Autism One, I look at the last line on this page, clearing up all the confusion. There is so much confusion, it drives me bonkers. There's not, because EMFs are a new problem and figuring out how they're even affecting people is like 6, 7 years old. Nobody on the planet even know how they were affecting hurting anybody until just a few years ago. So if you don't know how they're hurting you, there's a lot of people trying to fix a problem that they don't even know what the problem is. And that's why we have all these solutions out there that are just half fixes or partial fixes or not a fix at all. Sometimes make it worse. It's a mess. And then there's a lot of misinformation out there, which drives me crazy. So I love this part of my presentation when I have enough time to explain this to a crowd, because again, there's a lot of people, when they are knowledgeable about EMFs, they're so misinformed usually. It's kind of drives me crazy. So I can't wait to keep waking up the world and educating them on stuff that I think is dead on or really close to perfect reality about what's going on here. So I'm going to go full screen here. Whoop, that's not what I wanted. So I'm going to go back to that page I was just on. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I think it's number, yeah, there we go. There we go. So here's the 8 methods that people say is the only or best way or a way to remediate EMFs. I'm going to go through them all. I'm going to tell you right now that we know this about EMFs, right? Scientifically, we know that electromagnetic frequencies are opening up a voltage-gated calcium channel, which is, you guys all know what that is. I'm not going to go into that. And that's causing this domino effect, which is where we theorize that all of the effects, the negative side effects of EMFs, are coming from this. So every side effect that we know that's common, from fatigue, from heart rate issues, from sleeping problems, from even the autism gene getting kicked on, and all the other ones that we're not going to discuss here, they can all be just explained here. So if your product's not addressing this, or part of this, not the root cause, it's probably not hitting the nail on the head, to say it nicely. So we're going to analyze all the products here. So avoiding, I'm going to go through these real quick and then we'll go through them one at a time. So avoiding EMFs, can you guys see my cursor? Kathy, you want to give me a thumbs up? Okay, good. So avoiding EMFs would be not having this red EMF thing in the first place. That sounds great. It's unrealistic in today's world, but that sounds great. The second way would be blocking EMFs, and there's problems we'll go over with that. If you could block the EMFs, then this subatomic chaos wouldn't happen. The voltage-gated calcium channel wouldn't open, and everything would be fixed. But there's major problems with that, and we'll show you in a second. Grounding, just to show you on this diagram, grounding is, when it's done properly, it partially helps reduce the subatomic chaos here, okay? That can be helpful, but it definitely doesn't hit the root cause of it. So it's not a full solution. The Schumann waves, we'll go over in a minute, don't address anything on here. It's beneficial, but it has nothing to do with this diagram, which to me, it means that's nothing to do with EMFs virtually. Negative ions, when calcium goes in the cell, you see these 2 positive ions? That's a double ion calcium. This helps produce free radicals in the cell, and that free radical damage, the negative ions can help that. Address how much calcium, you still have too much calcium in your cell compared to magnesium, sodium, and everything else. So it doesn't address that at all. So again, that's beneficial, but you know, it's partial fix. Scalar waves can work, but we'll discuss that in a minute. And then calcium channel blockers, number 7, guess what they do? They block the voltage gated calcium channel from opening via drugs. And if you're holistic minded, you'd rather have drugs be the last resort, not to mention it's not going to get them all. And then you got natural materials, which we'll talk about, which is ours. So let's just go through one at a time. Avoiding EMFs, this is my little joke. This is where you pretty much have to go to avoid man-made EMFs. It's impossible, right? Not to mention we have, I'll go to the next slide. In, I believe this was a California Chiropractor Association group I spoke to, and I just plugged in an address up the street. Within 3 miles, there's 215 towers, 349 antennas. Like, you can't get away from EMFs in modern society. I mean, it's crazy. So everybody's worried about, like, well, I see a tower. They're all around you. They're all over the place. They're hidden all over buildings. So to get away from it, now you can minimize. You can, like, put your cell phone on airplane mode. You can not have Wi-Fi in your house and plug everything in. You could do stuff to minimize it, but avoiding is, kind of a partial solution at best, unless you live like on Mars. The second way would be blocking. So first, this could be worse or better depending on how you're doing it. Think of blocking as, it's not disappearing energy. Everybody thinks of blocking, it's like it's gone. No, it's not gone. It's like a mirror. It's going to bounce off and come back. It's either absorbing radiation, which it doesn't do, or it's reflecting radiation. So the radiation hits something and bounces back the other direction. So if you block a smart meter by putting a case on the outside of your smart meter, and the radiation's trying to get away from your house to get to the next house as a signal to spread that, that information from house to house and through the neighborhood and back to the SDG&E or whatever, you might be bouncing it off of that back into your house. You could make it worse because you're blocking the wrong side. If you block the inside of the house and it would bounce away from your house, then that could be beneficial. But if you're blocking it in the wrong direction, you could literally make it worse. It's kind of common sense to me, but everybody's doing this, this wrap around their smart meter from the outside. And then the meter, the EMF meter doesn't read it because it's blocking the radiation. Again, you just made it go the other direction. On the inside of the house, it's not going to read anything or not much anything because couple reasons. One is smart meters don't ping very many times a second. And 2, most of that radiation went through the wall. The photons smash into other particles. So the original frequency is gone. In other words, it all became the chaos, which is the exact thing that hurts us, but the meter ignores it. So it artificially, the meter makes you feel good, but it's common sense. It just made it worse. 5G, the new bad guy that's coming out soon. The paint and the tints and the different things don't block 5G. So people who want to use those technologies to block 5G, there is nothing in those realms that even does block 5G as of now. So I don't know if they're going to get that to work ever. Even if it did work, and even if it was a good solution, it ignores that altogether. And as we know, if you have a cell phone, everybody's got these cell phone cases that supposedly block the radiation. We've seen that they don't work because if you hold our meters up to it, they usually are the same. As a matter of fact, at the last conference we went to, the Autism One, we tested some phones that had the so-called blockers. And again, they're not blocking the radiation because it's not 360 degrees blocked. So the radiation has to bounce around in there. If it's working, it has to bounce around in there, causing more chaos until it comes out. So the meter was actually reading higher when people were closing their phones and saying that, okay, it's blocked. Our meter actually went up on a lot of those phones, actually a few of them that we tested in a row. So that doesn't seem to work at all. But if it did block it, the phone would stop ringing. If you blocked your router with enough aluminum foil, you got no Wi-Fi. So why even have one, right? So that's another problem. And then, of course, the one that people paint all the walls on their home, and we just had someone do this. It's a very expensive thing. And what you did is you didn't allow radiation in or out. So anything inside can't escape. So any electrical, anything in the house producing EMFs is going to not be able to escape, and it's going to amplify the effects of that radiation, making more and more chaos and make it worse. You basically made yourself like a microwave oven, because when a microwave oven is on, it vibrates and shakes the food to heat it. You take the walls off a microwave oven, it's not going to heat the food. Why? Because the radiation is going to have room to escape. So it's not going to cause as much of that shaky, vibrating chaos. So you don't want to make your house like a microwave oven where it's worse. So that is out. So basically blocking, I think I covered every possible scenario I could think of. It's you got to be really careful. You got to know what you're doing, and it's rarely a good solution. Grounding. Ooh, this is a big one, because anything that has a meter that goes down, people, you know, the big guys, the Dr. Mercolas and whatnot out there, give some credence to it, because it says, you know, it seems like, wow, look, it's working, the meter's down. But we know meters are very deceiving as far as EMFs go, and we're working on the real meter ourselves once I get settled into our new location and so forth. But I'm going to clear up exactly what the heck is grounding or earthing. So there's two kinds of grounding. There's outside grounding, where you're standing in a field, and inside of a home, where you usually have a mat that's on your computer or a mat on your bed, and then it plugs into like the grounding plug in your house, and that goes down to the ground. Okay, they're very different. The one is good, the other one, you know, is questionable at best. So grounding outside grounds everything, including you. So everything that's sitting on the earth is grounded, like it's taking the positive charges and it's giving it back to the earth directly. So that's only a benefit. It's not 100% fixing EMF problems, not 100% fixing the chaos, but it's reducing pressure or voltage, and reducing pressure lowers the chaos, and that's only a good thing. So walking around out in the field on the earth, all positive, all good, it's very good. But if you're grounding inside, look at the bed, well, all the positive charges in the house that can't escape very quickly are now going through you to get back to the earth. So what you've done is you've reduced the voltage, which is like pressure of EMFs, but you've increased your amount of exposure to all this. So you have all these positive charges going through you to get out, and that, my friends, adds to the chaos, which is what we're trying to avoid. So if you're grounding inside, it's decreasing pressure, which is good, reducing chaos. It's increasing the current or the amount of chaos you're exposed to, which is bad. To be honest with you, whichever one's bigger wins. So usually the green is bigger and more prevalent than the red. So grounding in the house is usually a benefit. It's partial at best, but occasionally in the house, you may have a situation where you're getting more negative effect on the grounding than you are the positive in the green, and then it's literally worse to ground in those situations. How would you know which is which? The only way I know is to use muscle testing. So, you know, it's you're rolling the dice. Most people benefit. Sometimes it blows up in your face. So that's the result, and it's never a complete solution. So there's that. Number 4 of 8, Schumann waves. This is basically, if you don't know what this is the pulse of the earth. So nature has EMFs. Man-made has EMFs, which are polarizing and negative and icky and harmful and all that. Nature has EMFs that are mostly not harmful, okay? They're mostly unpolarized. They're mostly balanced. They're not causing the chaos, which leads to our problems. So Schumann waves are EMFs that have always been around, that like light that hits off the earth and goes back to the atmosphere, and light speed that hits back and forth between the atmosphere and the earth has a pulse that's about 2.8 waves per second. Well, we've evolved with this, so we assume this is something that we need when we go inside too much. And we have a lot of other chaotic EMFs interfering with the Schumann waves. It's theorized that, okay, we're missing something that we should have. So long story short, this can be, I think it's beneficial, personally. When you go to the space shuttle, when they added this was beneficial up there and all kinds of good stuff. Like there's definitely evidence that this is beneficial, but I don't think it addresses anything on this sheet. So to me, it's not related to EMFs at all. Adding vitamin C doesn't fix EMFs. It's good. As a matter of fact, magnesium helps the voltage-gated calcium channel problem minimize, so you have less. So that's a direct nutrient that would literally help EMFs, something on this sheet. But the Schumann waves, I don't understand how that became an EMF product personally, because I guess it is an EMF and, they related them somehow. Then you got negative ion devices. So these could come in a form usually as like a necklace or some plug-in devices. These are great. They address free radicals, which is one of the symptoms in our cells from the voltage-gated calcium channel opening. I don't see any negative side effects. I only see a positive to wearing these devices. They work very well synergistically with our products. Not all do. So this is all good stuff. You can add it to our products, but it's not addressing the root cause. Voltage-gated calcium channels still fly open, and you're still getting too much calcium in your cells, so this is a partial fix. And if you want to look on the diagram, it's kind of addressing the free radicals that are coming from those double ion calciums that are entering the cell. 6, scalar waves. I call them scary waves, okay? Because we don't know anything about this. So we got X-rays were discovered in, I can't remember my exact years, 18 something I want to say. Anyway, whenever X-rays were discovered, it took us nearly 50 years to discover that these X-rays and this nuclear power that we were using was actually harmful and damaging people. Okay, it was damaging DNA and it was hurtful to people. Well, it took us about 50 years to discover that about microwaves. Scalar waves, we don't know anything about. This is a brand new thing. It's much more theory than it is reality. How to do it is even a theory that Nikola Tesla had before he died, and his research was carried on by others, and people are making these products that make these scalar waves. But this is, it could work because, again, we have chaos. We have shaking and vibrating chaos, subatomic stuff, right? Scalar waves aren't even waves. Consider it like mentally, it's like a laser where they're not even oscillating as they go. It's like piercing a straight line through stuff. Well, we have a bunch of stuff flying in a straight line energetically through an area. It's going to break apart that chaos, okay? So breaking apart the chaos would reduce, I think it would help. I think it would help a lot. It does address the subatomic chaos, but what the heck are the side effects to these things? We don't know. And that makes me nervous. So this is a traditional wave. If you look at the top one, scalar waves are more like that, straight line kind of stuff. Longitudinal waves. I don't even know why they call it a wave because there's nothing wave about it. You know what I mean? If I surfed that wave on my surfboard, I wouldn't go anywhere. That's not a wave, So the problems with scalar waves, there's a couple of them. Pendants, you can Google this. It's kind of crazy. Pendants that supposedly produce the scalar wave technology off of them, try a Geiger counter on one, and oftentimes they measure extremely high on Geiger counters. What is that? I don't know, but again, there's a big mystery here. I don't like it. Don't want to find out later how bad this was, that it fixed one problem and caused a new one. Second, some people are nervous to fix a man-made problem with another man-made problem or another man-made solution. That's me. These scalar waves can be used as weapons, supposedly easier than any other EMF. And let me give you an example of why I like natural versus man-made. It goes across the board with your health. I got lots of examples, but quickly, ascorbic acid is supposedly synthetic man-made vitamin C. Try curing scurvy with ascorbic acid. It doesn't happen. But if you eat an orange, you don't have scurvy anymore. You can cure it. So I think that when we get closer to nature, that our bodies respond because it's something that we're supposed to be experiencing. So anytime I can do something naturally, and I know you guys are on the same page, I'm going to want to do it naturally, which leads me to this calcium channel blocker. There's a Dr. Sinatra. I don't want to name names, but he's been talking about EMFs for many years, maybe 20 years or so. And he said medical doctors in his profession were just like walking out on his lectures. They didn't want to listen to him. Now he's excited that we're doing what we're doing. And he heard my talk. He's got a son, I believe it's his son, that takes calcium channel blockers because he's got major EMF sensitivity problems. He can't be, he has trouble flying anywhere. He has trouble, around cell phones, around big groups. So he takes this drug and it really minimizes his problems big time. He's just one of many examples. Dr. Martin Paul and some others have said that this, when you take channel blockers that block the voltage gated calcium channel and then symptoms go away that are EMF related, I think this is more proof that the voltage gated calcium channel is the problem, right? It's kind of common sense. But again, I just, if I had a severe sensitivity, I had no other option, I would do this. But any medication, especially the kind that are channel blockers, they have a lot of side effects. So I'm going to, of course, avoid these like the plague if I can. And then it brings us to the big finale. Natural materials. So this is a mess too. People talk about shungite, black tourmaline, and pyrite, and there's a whole list of stuff that you can Google probably, and I have a list of stuff that I've tried and experimented with. I don't use any of the stuff on this list. I found first of all, none of them work all the time. Second of all, the ones that do work have all different levels of how well they work. So if you don't have a scientific way to measure what the heck you're doing, none of these work all the time. I've never seen it. So I like that they're natural, but here it is. If you must, I believe they must be scientifically measured if you're going to have any merit to it. And if you read the second point, the best materials, the strongest materials that we find, I have to test a lot to find a little bit that we can use in products. And some of you guys, I think, some of you guys that are on this tonight actually saw one of our meters that measures the raw materials, one of the properties in them anyway, because we have 2 properties, technically 3, but measures one of the properties. This is a meter that I had specially made. There's only a couple of these made in the world, and I'm not going to share what this is because it's kind of one of our secrets, but it's neat that a couple of you guys got to see it, so that wow, you can put the material in a meter and it literally assigns a number to it, which the higher the number, the more effective it is. And when it goes over a certain number, we can use it in certain products. When our cell phone chips have to have the highest, strongest, best testing material because cell phones are really bad and we only have this little tiny space to fix them. So that's why we have different levels of materials, and there's different materials and different products and all this kind of stuff. But if you're not scientifically measuring, it's definitely rolling the dice, and then it may work and it may work okay and it may not work, kind of thing. But the right kind of natural materials, as we are in the process of proving, as you guys all see, do and can address this subatomic chaos, which if addressed properly can stop the voltage gated calcium channel and the snowball reaction. And we're in the process of proving all that stuff as we speak. So that is everything about the different ways that you might run across as competition or people that are misinformed, miseducated. I don't know how to say it, but there's a lot of misinformation out there about people trying these different things. And look, the meter shows it works. And hopefully that gives you a bunch of ammo to explain to people, point them in the right direction and explain to people why. And one thing that you guys need to know, it's like a rule in business, don't bash the competition. But when it comes to people's health, I hate to say I'm a pharmaceutical rep because I don't really like taking drugs unless it's a last resort. But if I was one and I had 2 other companies that had side effects that were just killing people and mine had no side effects and was doing a good job for whatever it needed to do, you bet I'd bash my competition because it's when it comes to people's health, I can't shut up. I need to educate them. So, but be careful. If it doesn't look good when we look like we're bashing the competition for that reason, you know. But when you're passionate like me and I'm just explaining the science the way it is, I think people don't see it that way, and I think they respond like, "Oh, thanks for the education lesson," and you know, then they're happy. So just be careful of that. And let's see, time-wise. So I tell you what, we don't have that many people on here, I don't think. So let me see if I can open this back up. Trying to figure out how to get back. There we go. There we go. So now you guys see me on the big picture? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I tell you what,
Yeah.
if anybody's got a question about any of what we covered, let's do that. Let's go over if there's any questions on those 8 items. And if no questions, I might cover one more little aspect. I'm that good. I love it. So did you guys get some good info out of that?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good.
That was good.
All right. So I'm so good. There's no questions. Cool. All right. So I'm gonna share one more thing, and then we'll call it a day. And then I hope all you guys can attend next Monday at 6 Pacific Coast time, because we're doing a 5G webinar that's going to last about 30 minutes, and everybody in the world's invited. So I just invited a bunch of our ex-clients who bought products from us and you guys. So feel free to invite, you know, anybody you want. And we'll see. We'll see. It could be 20 people. It could be 50 people. I don't know who's going to show, because we probably emailed, I don't know, hundreds of people. That's not a ton, but we'll see who shows up. But everybody in the world's invited to that one. So hope to see you guys there, and send out some email blasts or whatever and invite your people. Did somebody have a question?
Corey, it's Brent. I was going to just want to confirm one thing.
Yep.
So with the blocking, even if it is done right, because of the point of impact where it reflects it, you're still going to have a lot of chaos at that point on the other side of the wall or whatever because of the impact, correct?
Yes. And I'm going theoretically, yes. So, because it's not about the EMF itself, but blocking is still going to work a bunch. If you block from the inside of your wall, the EMF has gone through the whole wall before it bounces back. So you're getting a lot of chaos in your house anyway. If you could block it from the outside of the wall, because you're blocking something that's further away, that would be better, common sense wise. But I know I have heard that people who had cell towers literally on their building that were outside their window blocked the tinted windows, and they blocked with some paint, and they felt better. And then we put our plugs in there, and then they felt even better. So
yeah, that was my point, is even though it might help to a degree, you're still going to have a considerable amount of chaos because of the impact when the waves are smashing into the reflective material. So even though it might help, it's still like at best a partial fix was my point.
exactly. Theoretically, that makes sense. And practically, we've literally heard testimonials from people exactly saying what you just did. So
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's what I've experienced when I go to houses where they have things for blocking.
Mm-hmm.
And like it might be lower on a meter on the other side, but if you test the wall there, it still tests bad because they're with muscle testing, because there's still chaos.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm going to go just a quick minute here of, let's see. There we go. All right. So just a reminder, a lot of people, some of which have been doing this for a little while, still get stumped when people say, well, how do I know the products work? And there's a lot of ways you could say it. How do you know vitamin C works? How do you know a ton of things work? Well, it's been studied. The results show that the stuff works, and we have some faith that we take it's going to be beneficial. we now have 7 different studies where, let's see if I can. So we have these 7 different ways, and we're working on a few more as we speak, that we've shown our products to work. Number 7 is kind of my favorite because placebo is 20%, but we got way more than 20%, not to mention we have husbands and wives and kids that didn't know houses were fixed, that have gone through detoxes, that have had awesome improvements, and all the same exact testimonials everybody else. So it really doesn't matter if you tell somebody that you fixed it or not. We still see testimonials. We have all kinds of, unofficial blind testing and all that kind of stuff. But this is what I refer to. This is how we know our products work. But I would refer you back to saying, re-explaining how an EMF damages you and how our product effectively remediates it. And then once you get to a certain point, you obviously have to say it's proprietary. So for good reason, we have patents pending, utility patents and more. So we can explain to a certain degree, and then you're going to have a little faith. So I just wanted to kind of mention that. Those are the ways when people are saying, well, how do I know they work? You got muscle testing in their house. If you're effective at muscle testing, it's just one more little arrow in your quiver to use. But I really think that when you sound like you know what you're talking about, that you can explain how EMFs are like causing our problems and how we fix it. People just need a little faith. And if you're very confident, which I am because I don't have any evidence that our products aren't working great. Every way we test it so far is coming out the way I want it. So when you have confidence and knowledge, sold. Like people are just afraid. All sales are just people afraid of making a bad decision. And if you made EMFs, rightfully so, super scary to not address, which I am super scared to not address personally, then at least if they say, well, I'd be crazy to not address this, it's a big problem, and they really sound like they know what they're talking about. So some people just buy because they're like, it's peace of mind. Just in case this sucker works, I'm gonna make sure. So I'm just gonna get it. So anyway, those are little hints that I wanted to share. And the basic part to understand is when EMFs from men are present, they shake and vibrate stuff. Just like a microwave oven is shaking the molecules to heat your food, that's what happens to your cell phone and to Bluetooth everything and Wi-Fi everything and electricity and you name it. The higher the frequency, the more chaos. I can go through all the ins and outs. But explaining in real basic terms so people can understand it is pretty cool. And then these pictures to help. So for lack of time, I don't want to make these things too long. I think I'm going to wrap it up there. But thank you guys for attending. I'm going to wrap it up. I will stick around if anybody has another question, but I hope to see you guys on Monday, and happy summer.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Corey.
Thanks, Corey.
So we'll start having these once a month, and then we'll occasionally have more than that. For some of you that are ready to start calling on practitioners, teaching CE unit courses to gain chiropractors or acupuncturists or whoever, all that kind of stuff, we'll have some trainings. They're going to go over some hints about how you can get the message out there faster. And I promise that we're always working on like multiple things behind the background, whether it's new products or tests or all kind of cool stuff. So I'm sure the next few months or so, you'll see some more cool stuff coming your way.
Hey, Corey, I have a question.
Yeah.
This is Mike Schlegel. I heard you, did you get any feedback from Dr. Klinghopper? Is his name Klinghopper that you met at the Autism One?
I haven't talked
to your products, I heard.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him since. So I'm working on stuff, so I'd rather not comment on that exchange, but it was a really cool exchange with Dr. Klinghart, and working on it. We'll when we know more, we'll tell you guys for sure.
Was what you're doing new to him conceptually or solution wise?
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. He took our presentation manual off the table, and Kathy noticed it was missing. And he took it home for the night. He took our products, and I asked him what products he wanted to try out, and which is incredible because he doesn't believe in any of this kind of stuff. Normally, he just doesn't believe in these kind of products. Poo-poos them all.
Yeah, he's the kind that always told you to shut everything off when you went to bed.
Right. So I asked him after we got done talking what he wanted to try. He's like, "Can I have the home kit for my office and the cell phone chip and Kathy saw him to dinner that night, and he was actually wearing our personal card in his pocket, right, Kathy?
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. He went to give his speech, and his speech was the 7 things that people should look out for health-wise the most. Number 2 was EMFs. I think because of our conversation, and I think because of him reading our presentation manual, and I don't know if he heard my talk or not. It's funny when he got to EMF part number 2, the second biggest problem we have in today's society facing our health. He said, "Well, I'm doing some research and so I'm going to get back to you on this." And he skimmed over it and went right on to the next thing. That's insane. He never does that. He usually gets real into it. So that was pretty cool. And I suspect maybe we shook him up to make him like consider some new information. So he wanted to like do some homework before getting back into it. So we made a dent. We'll see where it goes.
Thanks.
Yeah. So
I got a question. The natural materials measuring irregularly, as far as what you were talking about before, can you hear me okay?
yeah.
Okay. What are the natural materials? How do they differ from what we are providing? I know it's proprietary, but like when you run into that scenario, like how do you combat that question?
Can you tell me that question again?
So you mentioned earlier that natural materials measure irregularly.
Hmm.
So we have natural materials in our products. So how do we combat that when you run into it?
How
are you combating that question?
I don't know the question still.
They're scientifically measured to confirm that they're strong. That's how.
So how do our products differ than whatever like rocks in your backyard?
Yep.
They don't. We just know which rocks in the backyard actually work and which ones don't because we have ways to measure it. And that's proprietary, and that's the whole thing we can't share with everybody yet because that's what, that's the main part of what we're patenting and stuff like that.
I've been saying that, but I've run into a couple of individuals that are really savvy with it, and I don't have enough, oomph underneath my belt to combat that question.
If you pretend that our products are like magnetism, you can explain a lot. We don't use magnetism.
That's what I've kind of been doing, yeah.
But if you do explain it like that, and actually there's 2 properties. One is a little bit similar to magnetism and one is not at all. So, but the concept of magnetism works to explain things, and that's why I came up with it, because magnetism conducts through metal. Magnetism doesn't have to touch something to have a pull or a push on it. Like there's a lot of things that are similar to our products to magnetism. Now, if you had forces that are trying to go this way and you had a magnet trying to make everything go this way, north and south, the stronger these forces are, like the worse the EMF problems get, the stronger the magnet is to redirect the forces in this direction, right? So if this force gets stronger and stronger and stronger, we need more and more stronger magnets to get those things aligned the way we want them to go. So it's very similar. That's why when you get solar, that's why when you live in the city, that's why when you have big EMF challenges, you just need more of the same product because we're just doing more of the same thing. So magnetism is neat if you use it as a concept, but past that, you say it's proprietary. Most people can understand it. You're not going to sell everybody, but boy, you could sell most people.
And Ryan, whenever I come across that and they say, well, I have this other product and it's other raw, if it's something, just muscle test them. I think
sure.
every time I've ever done the muscle testing, I mean, when Corey first came to my house, I had a big shungite, like a spear, like it was this big. And I actually muscle tested with that and went completely weak, and it was huge. And then we have this little chip behind the cell phone, super strong. So I think if you just really do the muscle testing on them, they'll see the difference themselves. That's what I do every time. And every time they say, oh, I guess that doesn't work. And yours does.
For sure.
And they might test a little strong, but never like ours. I've never, ever had it done.
Right.
I've been doing more and more muscle testing, and it seems to be immediately it just shuts down the argument of, well, how do I know this works? So I muscle test them. End of conversation.
Right.
They immediately see what I'm talking about and notice that the product is making them stronger.
Yeah.
For sure. So, good question though. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, appreciate you guys' time. And you know where to find me for more questions later.